I'm JP Tuesday.
And I'm Kiki Cannon. As lifelong Disney fans, the work of countless talented Disney creatives have shaped our lives.
Now, as the Disney catalog expands, we're taking a journey through film and television to discover if that spark that shaped us as children lives on in adulthood.
Does your favorite Disney media still cast that same spell? Join us as we find out. We are Rewatching the Magic.
Hi, Kiki.
Hi, Tuesday.
We are once again talking about a basketball movie because March Madness.
It's March and we're mad about it.
Yes. This week, we are talking about the 1992 movie White Men Can't Jump. The original. Yes, there was a remake, I think 2023. I've never seen it. And I don't have any interest in seeing the remake.
I did not know about the remake until we were talking about doing this movie, and I went to look it up on Disney Plus / Hulu, and there were 2 versions of this movie, and I went, huh?
Because everything needs to be a remake these days. So, yeah, there's a remake of White Men Can't Jump. Again, I don't know much about it. I have no interest in seeing it. If any of you, dear listeners, have seen the remake of White Men Can't Jump, drop us a line and tell us what your thoughts of that movie. Also, as we were talking before we started recording, this is a first watch for you. You've never seen the original White Men Can't Jump.
Nope, not until we did it for the podcast. So I have just freshly seen this movie for the first time. I mean, I remember it being a big hit at the time. You know, it was a lot of cultural references back in the early 90s, mid 90s. But yeah, I just never got around to watching it. Always intended to, and life happened. And here we are.
Have you ever seen Money Train?
I haven't.
That is also a Woody Harrelson, Wesley Snipes movie. Kind of got made because this was a hit. And they wanted that dynamic back again. I mean, they even got Jennifer Lopez to be the Latina woman since they had Rosie Perez in this one.
Yeah. I have also not seen Bull Durham, which is Ron Shelton, the director, writer, his other big movie that came out before this. So he had been really known for doing Bull Durham, which was the Kevin Costner movie, and all about baseball, that one. And that one, I can't remember if he won an Oscar or was just nominated or whatever, but yeah, anyway, that was an Oscar movie to some extent. I remember hearing about it during the Oscars telecast, you know. Mm-hmm. And then I guess because that was such a commercial success, then he also, same writer-director, got to do this movie. And I think he also did like a golf movie too at some point.
And a boxing movie, The Great White Hype.
Yeah, he just did a lot of sports movies, and as we have discussed a lot, neither of us are really sports movie people. But this was the one that, like, the trailers looked kind of interesting and funny, and I liked all the actors. So this was the one that I kind of wanted to see out of all of the sports movies that Ron Shelton made. Before we go any further, if you listen with the little kiddos, sorry, come back for the next episode in 2 weeks, because that one will be family friendly, but this is an R-rated movie, and you know what we say, R-rated movie, probably going to be an R-rated conversation. So here's your parental advisory. pause it now, usher the little ones out of the room, and then come back to us later.
Yay. Fuck. Okay, here we go. Okay. Had to get the F-bomb in just so we are serious about this.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, that's kind of really the only reason that this one is rated R is because they do drop more than one F-bomb in this movie.
Mm.
It's really not like, hyper violent or gory or anything. It's a comedy. There is a little subplot about some mobsters or something, but really the R rating is just for the fact that, there's a lot of F-bombs in this movie, but not like Deadpool level of F-bombs, because this was the early 90s and we had not pushed it that far yet.
We're not quite at Wesley Snipes being Blade yet.
Yeah, it's not even Blade level. This is really tame for most of the R-rated. This may be one of the tamest R-rated movies. No, Pretty Woman is definitely the tamest R-rated movie we've done.
Yeah.
Which is really weird.
I mean, we're not even at Natural Born Killers level of Woody Harrelson being an R-rated movie.
Yeah, this is the tamest for either Wesley Snipes or Woody Harrelson so far in their career, I think. As far as R-rated movies go. But
for Woody Harrelson, it would be like this was right at 92, so this was like right after Cheers ended, right?
I can't remember exactly when it ended. Let's see. Looking it up.
93 is when Cheers ended, so this is right at the end.
Yeah, right at the end. Yeah. So this was Woody Harrelson right at the ending of that Cheers fame, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Not his first film, but his first film after he became a name.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely was, I think, seeing that Cheers was coming to an end. If it hadn't already, it was gonna pretty soon. And he needed to break away from that character Woody that he'd been playing for so long. He needed to carve out a new niche for himself, which he very successfully did.
Oh yeah. His filmography. I mean, we can do an entire podcast of just Woody Harrelson's filmography in general.
Yeah, and I mean, let's remember, if you weren't around at the time or were too young at the time, there was a lot of question of whether or not he would be able to break away from that, doofy little bartender character from Cheers.
There's no shame in being a TV actor. I will say that straight up. There is no shame in being a TV actor. However, to break out of being a TV actor to a feature film actor is a gamble, and not everyone does it. So Woody Harrelson had an uphill climb to go from being a TV actor, especially a TV comedy sidekick type of character, to being leading man in a film.
Well, I mean, even if you're going to stay in the realm of TV, I mean, look at somebody like Bryan Cranston.
Mm-hmm.
He went from a comedic role that everybody knew him from Malcolm in the Middle, and then he leaves that and he goes and he does Walter White on Breaking Bad.
Mm-hmm.
Still a TV role, but not at all the same type of role, And so I know that that's easier to do now. And in the 90s, it was really like, oh man, you got to get out of TV and you got to, break into the movies. We talked about the same thing with Bruce Willis, you know. But even if even if Woody Harrelson had tried to move from one TV show to another, the big question at the end of Cheers was, is he going to be typecast as this goofy, dim-witted guy forever? And a lot of people didn't think he had the acting range to do anything else because everybody had gotten so used to him playing that one character.
It's a very similar path that another actor around the same time would go through, Jim Carrey.
Yeah,
Jim Carrey going from a TV sketch comedy actor on In Living Color to being a leading man in Hollywood.
yeah, and he did have that moment of, you know, well, here's all your Ace Venturas, and here's all your the Mask, and here's all, you know.
Mm.
And then he started doing more dramatic things, and you know, Truman Show and all that kind of stuff. And
Eternal Sunshine and stuff like that.
yeah, um, so Woody Harrelson just kind of did it in a much more shocking kind of way, I think. Um, but this was his like early breakout thing, really, of, well, at least I'm going from a sitcom on TV to a R-rated, yes, but it was still a comedy.
Yeah.
But it was a comedy where he was maybe not the smartest guy, but he definitely wasn't that Woody character from Cheers.
He wasn't playing a dimwit. He was playing a hothead, which are very different characters.
Yeah, still kind of a doofus, but a different kind of a doofus.
Mm-hmm. And plus, he's got Wesley Snipes to play off of, who was already a seasoned film actor at the time. Mo Better Blues, New Jack City, Major League.
Yeah, had not transitioned into the action star Wesley Snipes that we talked about when we talked about Blade.
That will be next year with Demolition Man.
Oh, yeah. Love me some Demolition Man. But, you know, both of these guys were right at a turning point in their career. And here they get thrown together in this really strange combination of sports film and early 90s racial, I don't even know what to call it, but you remember just as well as I do that there were a lot of very odd films in the early 90s that were like, let's explore race in a very odd sort of way.
Yeah, I mean, Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor, this ain't. This was like the next evolution of that.
Yeah, because the thing is that it it is that sort of, we know the racial tensions are still there and we want to tip our hat to them, but we don't really want to get into anything serious with them.
Just enough so that you kind of know what's going on. And it's, you know, the white guy kind of getting it, trying to find the right word, uh, being put into this black culture of street basketball and trying to understand the um the culture of that. I guess that's the best. I had something else and I lost it, so that's all I got. And plus, you have the white guy having the Latina girlfriend, so he's kind of already in entering that kind of a culture by having a Latina girlfriend and playing street basketball with a bunch of black guys. And Woody Harrelson's character takes full advantage of that. Here's a bunch of black guys. They think I'm a stupid white guy. I will play into the stereotype of a stupid white guy, and I will scam them and get their money.
Yeah, I mean, he's introduced right at the beginning as someone who has a surface level appreciation of black culture. You know, he listens to Jimi Hendrix. He is listening to a group of black men busking on the sidewalk, and then he just tips them $1. You know, he
Yeah,
has more money, but
we find out why he's not really spending all that money right away, but at the beginning of the movie, he does come off as a jerk. He even
yeah,
says, my father was a preacher, to listen to that kind of music all the time.
yeah. But the thing is that Wesley Snipes does kind of hold him to account on a couple of occasions in the movie where he's like, you listen to Jimi Hendrix, but you don't hear Jimi Hendrix, That's a repeated line over and over again. And when Wesley Snipes puts on like more contemporary rap music for the time, Woody's character cannot stand it. He's like, what is this? This isn't music. This isn't.
His counter is to play country music.
Yeah. Which, of course, Wesley can't stand. He's like, oh, come on. Then you don't listen. But also, of course, Rosie Perez can't stand it either. He plays it in the car with both of them, and neither of them can stand it. They're like, please turn this off. I am gonna say I'm with them on that. I was not a fan. But the movie was written by a white guy. I mean, that's where it's coming from. And interestingly, his girlfriend was not written to be a Latina in the script. She was supposed to be a white girl, but just like a rich white girl. Like she was originally supposed to be from money. And then her way of like getting back at her parents or whatever was going to be to like run away with the bad boy who dropped out of college or whatever and moved down to California to hustle black guys in the inner city at basketball.
I'm guessing, Rosie Perez probably auditioned, and, when she got the role, it was changed for her. That's the only thing I can think of.
And I mean, that's what happened is she went to the auditions, and bravo at least to the casting director for at least seeing non-white actors for the part, because early 90s, that's not always a given.
Mm-hmm.
It's not always a given today. But it was good that they cast a wide enough net that she at least got a audition.
I really wonder how much of Jennifer Lopez owes her career to Rosie Perez. Like I said, Money Train happened. They got Jennifer Lopez because they wanted to emulate that black guy, white guy, Latina girl dynamic from this movie.
I mean, I was a big fan of hers when she hit it big. you know?
Mhm.
Remember that you talk about like how much of Jennifer Lopez's career you are kind of not even touching on the uh kind of big thing was that, you know, Rosie Perez was the choreographer for In Living Color for the first 4 seasons. And who was maybe the most famous fly girl to come out of In Living Color? Jennifer Lopez, for anybody who doesn't know that. Um, so it's not like they didn't know each other. It's like,
Maybe they wanted Rosie Perez for Money Train, and she said no. But hey, I know someone who would be a great fit.
I mean, it is possible. I don't know what their, I don't know if they were like friends or something or just like professional, but you know, um, it's they definitely worked closely together for at least 1 season, um, of that show. I don't know how, I can't remember how many seasons they worked on together, but I know it was at least one. Um, but uh, that was definitely, a connection between them. Uh, so you're not wrong to speculate, but I just don't know.
Mm.
I would love to know if anybody listening out there, like, can point me to like the documentary about the connections between the two. That'd be fascinating to me. I just don't know it. Um, but I think I think it's really important to highlight, especially those three actors, because I'm just gonna say it right off the top here. I think this entire movie hinges on those three actors and to a little, lesser bit, um, it hinges on some of the other actors in the back. Um, like I did not know Kadeem Hardison was in this. That's Dwayne Wayne himself. Thank you. From Different World, if you didn't know. Uh, I grew up loving him and his ridiculous little uh flip top sunglasses. Um, but seeing him in here, I was like, yeah, this is good. We're having fun now. Um, but those three main actors, I'm going to go ahead and say it. I think, and this is the reason I don't want to watch the remake. I think if you were to take those three actors out and their chemistry together and just the fact that they absolutely nail every tiny little joke and scene in this, I think people would realize that this movie is not very good at the structure of it.
I will say that the saving grace of this movie is the chemistry between those three. I don't think this movie would have worked. I mean, I will agree with you on that. I don't think this movie would have worked without those three together because it's just again, there's a reason why they got Harrelson and Snipes back together for Money Train. It's because their chemistry in this movie is just off the charts, and they work off each other so well.
Because let's get into some of the plot points of this movie, of which there are not many.
There's a story with both Woody Harrelson and Wesley Snipes in the basketball thing. There's a story with Woody Harrelson, Rosie Perez, and their debts. There's a story with Wesley Snipes and his trying to be a good husband and father. And there's Rosie Perez's dream of being a contestant on Jeopardy.
Guess how many of these plot lines kind of go nowhere?
A lot of them.
Yeah, there's a lot of these plot lines that just kind of stop or wrap up very quickly in a way that is not quite either satisfying or comprehensible to the audience.
Or it comes together in a very, well, that's convenient kind of way.
Yeah. Like let's talk about like the inciting incident, because we got Woody Harrelson who is playing Billy, and he is dating Gloria, which is our Rosie Perez here. So Billy and Gloria have to live in a no-tell motel because they are on the run from some mobsters. Two brothers who are mobsters, and they owe them money for some reason.
I think it's gambling because you see that Billy is very quick to bet.
Yeah, I think maybe in one scene they say something about like gambling or something, but it's really the movie does not care why they owe money. They just want them to owe money to mobsters for reasons. And he is hustling basketball to try to save up money to pay them back. But the problem is he keeps losing the money in stupid ways. Like they keep winning money, and then he'll be like, "Oh, but now I'll bet you that I can eat a whole bunch of tacos or something." You know, it's like something stupid. And then he'll lose the money again. And then he has to go back to Gloria and be like, "I lost the money again." She'll be like, "You're going to get us shot." You know, like, what is wrong with you? Mobsters are after us and they are trying to murder us.
Because Billy is very quick to temper. He, especially when it comes to Gloria. Anyone says anything to her, he's ready to rip someone's head off.
And he also seems to be very quick to like just being called a white boy. And not like in any kind of mean way either. It's just like, "Oh, look at you. You're a white boy who plays basketball." And he's like, "Yeah, you want to fight about it?" You know, he's that.
I mean, they call him Opie, they call him Brady Bunch, like generic, the tamest of tame white boy names. Like,
There is one use of the N-word in this movie. It comes from Wesley Snipes. It really does not have anything to do with anything. And then we move on.
mm-hmm. Just to say they had it in the movie.
Yeah, it's like, oh, look, it is the early 90s. We have black people in an inner city context. We have said that word. Aren't we? There's our rating and our racial commentary. You know, it's like,
Look how edgy we are.
yeah, we have rap music in this movie. There's Queen Latifah. There's, like, I don't know. I mean, actually, the soundtrack to this is kind of awesome, you know. But, you know, the thing is, though, is that, like, just sticking with the mobster storyline, because I want to talk about each of these storylines individually and talk about how most of them go absolutely nowhere. Billy and Gloria are on the run from mobsters. They're staying in crappy motels. They keep moving motels throughout the movie. so that the mobsters cannot find them, which the mobsters do once or twice. And then Billy is like, no, 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 I can just, let me play this one last game of basketball and I will win you all your money back. We don't know how much they owe really. I think it's like $7,000 or something.
Somewhere, I think I heard 8 in one scene. So
Yeah, I don't know. It's not very
it's not important.
firmly.
Really,
Yeah,
it's not important for the movie to tell us. Just that they owe money to the mob, and that is why Billy is doing all of this, because he needs to make money to pay off the mobsters.
yeah. Um, so the end of all that is, for some reason, at the end of the movie, after he gets a little bit of money, because of stuff we'll get to later, he is able to pay back the mobsters, but also they take pictures of him where he looks like they've killed him.
So yeah,
Like they put fake blood in his mouth
yeah,
and take pictures.
earlier in the movie, they're threatening him with this family photo book of victims that they've killed, saying, hey, look at these photos, look at them. These are the people who didn't pay us. And if you don't pay us, you're going to be added to the album. And then at the end of the movie, where he pays them off and he says, no, you got your money, leave me alone. It's like, well, we really wanted to kill you. Can we at least make it look like we killed you? And he agrees with it, and they take a picture of him looking like he's dead, add it to the photo book, because they want to look like tough guy mobsters. They even say afterwards, we're back. So it's like there's a completely different movie happening at the same time that we're not seeing, of these two mobsters trying to get back into the family by killing somebody.
Uh, and then they're like, yeah, it's about respect, man. Respect us. And he's like, yeah, sure, whatever. And then they wander off. And then it's like, oh, okay, whatever. So that one was one of those where it's like, yeah, it's okay. Technically, it came to an end, but it was like,
I think they wanted that to be funny.
I mean, I'm sure they wanted it to. But to me, like, replace that with any other reason a couple would want money. We can't afford to live anywhere other than this crappy motel. I would like an apartment. There. The story works exactly the same.
Well, we're already doing a storyline where Wesley Snipes' family wants to buy a house. We can't do the same plot for both of them.
Speaking of Wesley Snipes' family wants to buy a house. He's got a wife. He's got kids. Like, I don't know. It does seem like maybe there's some other family living in there too.
Yeah, they're living in a really shitty apartment in a really bad part of the LA area that they want to get out of.
Which, no shade to them. Everybody's been there,
Mm-hmm.
You've either been there or you're still there, or, I dislike you intensely, probably. But his wife does get like one of the few like really solid lines in the movie where she's like, it's like they live in the scenic vista apartments or whatever, and she's like, it's not scenic, there's no vistas, and there's no vistas to be scenic about. Like that line is pretty good, um but I don't know, it's like that's pretty universal, and for some reason we dropped that storyline even faster and worse than we dropped Billy's storyline.
Yeah, because we see them house hunting and they find a very nice house that they both like, but it's too expensive for them to buy. And she suggests, well, maybe I can get a job. And he's very much, no, no, my wife is not going to work. I make enough money for us to get by. I will just do more hustling, because we see that he has a real job. It is hustling is not his job. He dresses up in a shirt, not a tie, but a shirt and slacks, and he actually has a real job that he goes to every day. It's just hustling basketball is the side gig.
It seems like his quote unquote real job, though, is he might be a shady contractor.
Well, he says he has a contracting job, he has a cable repairman job, he has a construction job that, as he
The
says,
only time we see him, though, on the job is he's meeting a guy at like a hot dog stand as a seemingly shady contractor.
definitely off the books, as it were. He's definitely,
Yeah.
like he says, I can go past the middleman, I can ignore the middleman, or I can be the middleman. I can be whoever you want me to be, sir. I will give you the materials that you need for you to build your dream home.
And the guy's talking about like, well, I don't really want to deal with having to get all of the permits from the city. And he's like, oh, I can work with the city, I can work around the city, whatever you want. So definitely he is not licensed.
Yeah.
Let's just say that. And so yeah, it does seem like he, this Sydney that he's playing, it seems like Sydney is only maybe a step up from Billy in the legitimate job sector.
It's more of a legitimate job than hustling basketball.
Well, yeah, but barely.
He's hustling white folks, so that's a way big step up.
Yeah, I mean, Billy is definitely punching down. At least Sydney is kind of punching up by taking money from wealthier people who want to get around the system.
Mm-hmm.
Billy is definitely going out there and trying to hustle people who probably don't really have much. I mean, we see like one of his first hustling gigs. Well, one of Sydney's first hustling gigs is Sydney tries to hustle a guy and he's like, all right, let's put $500 on it. And the guy's like, all right, let me go to my car and grab the $500. And the guy goes and immediately tries to rob a convenience store.
What the hell are you doing, man? Put that gun down. And he already knows
Yeah.
the guy.
Yeah, he's like, don't come in here waving that in my store. It's like, so then like the guy that Sydney's trying to hustle just like sells the gun to the store owner just to get some cash. Which actually I have to admit is a really hilarious scene.
It's a great save.
One of the better scenes in the movie. Is this guy like trying to get cash and well, if the robbery doesn't work, I'll just sell him the gun. That's pretty funny. But that whole bit about Sydney and his wife, and like about halfway through the movie, Sydney's wife just disappears and we do not see her again.
Yeah, I mean, we see her when Gloria is trying to get Billy's money back that he lost. We'll come back to that. And then we see her again when their apartment gets broken into and all their stuff gets stolen.
Yeah, but that's about halfway through the movie, like definitely before the third act.
Yeah, and that's it. We do not see her ever again in this movie.
And they don't really even mention her again or his family. It's just kind of like Sydney's reason for doing all this just kind of ceases to be.
I mean, the only thing is that his house getting broken into and all their stuff getting stolen is the reason we get the climax of the movie because he needs money fast because it's the only way he's going to be able to afford that house and get his family out of that neighborhood.
And
That's it.
you kind of assume with the way that the movie ends that probably somewhere off screen some stuff works out, but they don't even pay lip service to it again.
Mm-hmm.
There's not like a scene of him coming home to the family or him pulling a for sale sign out of the yard or something. Like there's nothing.
Like if this had been one of those movies where we get like bonus scenes during the credits, not necessarily a post-credit scene, but there are always some of these movies, especially late 80s, early 90s movies, where you'll get those bonus scenes, those epilogue scenes, where you'll see something along the story happening. We probably would have gotten that, where Wesley Snipes and his family are buying the house and moving in and maybe having some sort of party with Billy there or something.
Yeah, no, this movie just does not care. It's like, whatever. You can insert your own happy ending here.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, that just kind of falls by the side. Um, what this movie really wants to do a lot is gotta have a montage.
A
Montage.
lot of basketball montages in this movie.
So many basketball montages. And the thing is that there's not really any tension to any of the basketball montages.
Because they're good. There's no tension in any of the games because from the start, Billy and Sydney are good. The only hiccup is the old wrestling tag team can they coexist meme. That is the only drama in the games is can these two hotheads coexist long enough to win the game and win the prize money?
Yeah, the thing is that the one time that they like lose, you find out very quickly that it was like a backstab.
Yep.
Sydney hustled Billy back. They come up with this thing, the whole conceit at the beginning of the movie is that Billy hustles Sydney and Sydney goes like, "Oh, I was actually taken in by that because you look like a geeky little white dude." And I was taken in by that because I don't think, white men can't jump. Like white men can't play basketball. All right. But you showed me up. Okay. Now let's team up and we'll go out and hustle other guys in neighborhoods I'm familiar with, and they run a scam where Sydney will just be like, "Hey, I'll beat anybody here. In fact, we can play 2-on-2 and you can pick my partner." And he'll say that like just as Billy is walking past the court. And of course, somebody will go like, "Oh, I can pick anybody, right? Well, how about like the geeky little white guy that's walking by the court over there that doesn't even look ready to play basketball? How about that guy?" And then, of course, they absolutely smoke him. Um, and that's the hustle. And honestly, it works good for them until one day they lose really big and Billy goes back and he's like, oh man, we were doing so good. And then suddenly it just went really wrong. And I don't know why, because we've beaten guys better than that before. And Gloria looks at Billy and she's like, you're an idiot because you just got hustled back.
That was Sydney's revenge for that was his revenge from earlier. You got me, now I got you.
Yeah. And now I got all the money because he split it with the guys that beat him, you know?
Who are in his house watching the game with him.
Yeah, who are like in his house having a beer when Billy and Gloria show up. And Gloria's like, give us the money back. And Sydney's wife's like, yeah, no, it doesn't work like that.
Because she's trying to get out of that apartment and buy a house.
Yeah, and that's what she explains to Gloria, you know, like, hey, his wife Rhonda, that's her name. So when Rhonda's like, okay, look at this crap ass apartment, uh, I would like to be moving on up, and I think you can understand that. And Gloria's like, yeah, but what if we get the guys back together and we make even more money because there's like some big street ball tournament or whatever, and now we're not street hustlers, now we're just not even an underdog team, we're just a sports movie now.
Yeah, well, they're just the unknown team against a bunch of well-known local basketball players. They're just the unknown team that smoke everybody. Them winning was never the question. It's can they coexist? Can they get through the game without killing each other? Because there's Billy trying to get all of the black dudes hot and bothered so they're off their game, and Sydney saying, "What the hell are you doing? No, you're not going to do this. I mean, I know what you're doing. Don't do this. These guys will kill us."
Yeah, but then like they win the tournament, but then they get into a fight over whether or not Billy can slam dunk.
Yeah, because he sets him up for it. Sydney, right at the end of the game, he sets it up so he can dunk, but Billy doesn't go for the dunk.
Which, like, who cares? You won the game anyway.
There's this philosophy that Billy says to Sydney throughout the movie. How I like to I don't mind looking bad because I win. You don't you care more about looking good even if you lose. And he does try to make it a racial thing. Like, white guys, we don't care what we look like as long as we win. Black guys, you don't care if you win as long as you look good.
Yeah. And again, written by a white guy.
But that's Billy being an asshole.
I mean, is it though? Because I'm not sure the movie like proves him wrong necessarily.
But it's also Billy's kind of a jerk. He's a jerk to Gloria for a good portion of this movie. He's telling her, like, hey, you're my girlfriend. You're supposed to defend me. If you're not going to defend me, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, and now we get to the part of the movie I really wanted to talk about. Because this is the part of the movie that does not hold up well. And we call this section Why Gloria is the only character in this movie that has a damn brain and gets a good ending. So let's talk about Gloria's storyline.
Gloria, when we first meet Gloria in the movie, she is reading books, she is studying. And on first view, you're seeing, oh, she must be going to college or something because she's studying all of these books. No, she is studying because it is her dream. It is her dream to be a contestant on Jeopardy. So she is studying all of these factoids and other things, useless facts, her words, because she needs to know a little bit of everything if she is going to get to this audition to be a contestant on Jeopardy. And she thinks, no, she knows that if she can get on that show, she will win.
And the movie sets her up to be like, look at this idiot girl who is like, she has the dumbest dream, you know?
Yeah.
And at one point, even Billy is like, you need to stop dreaming about Jeopardy and, whatever. But, and she breaks up with him and she leaves and everything. And so, uh, this is after, uh, Billy and Sydney win that tournament, and Billy and Sydney get into like their little drunken fight about the slam dunk after, and they bet the full $5,000 on whether or not Billy can slam dunk. And Billy is so drunk that he is not able to slam dunk. And so he loses all of his money, which is all of their money again. And he has to go back to Gloria, and he's like, well, for the 18th time in this movie, I have lost all of our money again. And Gloria's like, I needed that money. Not only do we need it to live on, but I need a new dress so that I can go to the Jeopardy audition, so that I don't look trashy when I go on Jeopardy. And he's like, you're never going to get on Jeopardy. Give up that stupid dream. It's not like you're smart. It's not like you're whatever.
But also, they have this really weird moment early on. Is the, and I hate saying it like this, it's the meme of the man brain and the woman brain. It's like the men is very straightforward. When we want something, we say we want it and then we get it. But when a woman says they want something, they don't want you to actually do the thing they say to you to do. They want you to just listen and empathize with the issue. Men are always solving the problems and women don't want the problem solved. And you've heard this a million times. You know where I'm going with this. And that's a plot point in this movie.
Except the way it is done in this movie is the dumbest fucking way I have ever seen this described in any film ever. Because not only have you heard people rant about this, usually men, but you've also seen it in other movies and stuff. The way it is done in this movie is the dumbest way of talking about this I have ever seen. Because she says that she's thirsty, and so he gets up and grabs her a glass of water, and she absolutely loses her shit on him. No, you're not supposed to get me a glass of water. You're supposed to sit there and say, you're right. I also know what it's like to be thirsty. My mouth has also been dry. I sympathize with you and your thirst. You're not supposed to get me a glass of water. Why do you have to fix a problem? You're just supposed to sit there and listen to me and sympathize with me being thirsty. Which is maybe the dumbest thing I have ever heard. And you can tell this is written by a man, and a really stupid man.
Which is really weird because you and I have had this exact situation where I'm getting up to go to the fridge and you said, hey, while you're up, could you just grab me a soda from the fridge? And I said, cool. And that's the end of the conversation.
That is the end of the conversation, because that's how that conversation goes. No, what the basis of that conversation is about is that if a woman says that, I'm just going to, I hate being gender essentialist about it, but let's do the thing. Let me explain this to you if you're still one of the numpties that thinks this is a good point. Uh, no. What this is for men who haven't listened to women in their lives is if you ever get this complaint, men, what it is I have a problem. I would like to have a little empathy about that problem. You are not solving the problem by telling me obvious quote unquote solutions to my problem because here's a shocker. I am not an idiot. I have thought of all those solutions. Guess what? None of them will work. I don't want to sit here and explain to you why they won't work. I live my own life. I know why they won't work and or have tried them before. Believe it or not, I am not a 4-year-old. You are not telling me anything I have not thought of before. You are mansplaining my life to me. Shut up. What I am trying to say is, this is a complex situation. I have tried all the solutions. I am still annoyed about it. Please just hug me and bring me some Ben and Jerry's. Thank you. The point is not that you are giving solutions. The point is that you are treating the woman in your life like a 4-year-old that hasn't thought of the obvious solution before. You know?
Yeah, and again, he's being the asshole because when she's trying to explain this to him, and again, it's explained very poorly in this movie. How does he respond? By splashing the glass of water in her face.
Yeah, be aggressive about it. That'll help.
That's why that's what she's done, and that's one of the reasons why she's done with him. There are these people that they may love each other, maybe this great couple, and they may love each other and care for each other and always be there for each other, but they are completely terrible for each other in terms of a relationship. They are not good for each other. They are toxic for each other. That is Billy and Gloria. They are
Yeah.
not good for each other. They are toxic to each other. This is not just a Billy thing. It's not a Gloria thing. It is both of them.
Actually, no, I think it's just a Billy thing. I mean, honestly, I watched this movie. I mean, maybe on a second watch I might see something, but after a first watch I'm looking at this and I'm like, "Girl, why are you with him?
I mean,
You can do better."
we'll get to it. We're
But
getting there. We're getting there.
yeah, but you know, she leaves him. Good for her. 'Cause he's lost the money yet again. And in his one good and useful move in the entire movie, uh, he basically calls in a favor from Sydney, who happens to know a guy who is the security guard for Jeopardy.
Yeah, one of the basketball players that we've been seeing throughout the whole movie that Sydney plays with, his day job is a security guard. We actually see him play and then start to put on his uniform as he's going to work. Again, having just played a street game and then putting your uniform on to go to work, don't you want to take a shower before you do that?
Well, I mean, it might help bounce people away from the door if you got that funk. I don't
Maybe.
know.
But that's the thing. So he's security guard at the television studio that Jeopardy is filmed on. And he calls in the favor to Billy calls in the favor to Sydney. Sydney goes to the guy, says, "Hey, I will owe you one." And he says it in a very Godfather like voice. "I'll owe you a favor."
Yeah.
And
And I like that the friend is like, no, okay, if Billy can sink this trick shot, and he like specifies a trick shot, and he's like, all right, Billy, if you can do that, I'll get your girl on Jeopardy. And Billy sinks the trick shot, and Glory gets on the show. And at first, they do the thing of like, well, she misses the first question. It's a sports question. She answers kind of, you know, ridiculously wrong. And they're like, oh, how does she not know the answer to that? And he's like, well, sports aren't her strong suit or whatever. And uh, Sydney's mocking her from the audience and everything. And then they hit, a category that she knows something in, and she hits the daily double and immediately like gets the lead.
She's on a roll. There's an entire montage of her answering questions to the point where the current champion of Jeopardy, who they say is a rocket scientist, is visibly impressed with her knowledge.
And that is actually a good montage because there is some stakes and some risk, and she comes from behind and we don't know if she's going to be good enough, and like that's a good montage.
She wins. We don't know how long she's the champion for. She might just been champion for one day. But that one day earning is enough for them to move into an apartment. And a very nice apartment. This is like condo.
So they show the we don't actually see the final Jeopardy question, but the last thing that we see on her total is over $14,000, which is more than either of those idiots have made hustling basketball to this point in the movie. I want to point that out. And if you adjust that for inflation, that's almost $32,000 today.
Nice good chunk of change.
That's what she, a minimum of what she won, because I don't know if that was her final winnings.
Not to mention Jeopardy has changed a bit since the 90s in terms of their how much the questions are worth.
Yeah, and like I said, we don't know if that was after the final Jeopardy question. I mean, she could have won double that if she went all in on Final Jeopardy. We don't know. But like, let's say that was what she won in total after Final Jeopardy on her first day. That's still not a bad take home.
Like I said, she could have just been champion for the one day, and that was enough for her to like have a good life.
Well, and the thing is that she takes Billy back because he comes in and he sings a stupid song that he wrote, which is really bad, awful song that apparently like the writer and Woody Harrelson wrote.
Then they do a montage where a professional singer is singing that song.
Yeah, as they're moving into their apartment.
It feels like it's just an excuse to have Woody Harrelson sing in the movie.
Yeah, which maybe, but anyway, he sings this ridiculous song about like, I promise I'll never bring you water if you say you're thirsty, because I know that I should just be sympathetic and tell you that I have also been thirsty or something. It's ridiculous. Anyway, but yeah, but the thing is that that's enough money, even if that was all she won. That's enough money that like she is talking to him about not only, the apartment that they have now, but like she wants to invest a little bit of it. She wants to use some of it to like take acting classes. She wants to use like she's talking about her future and using this money wisely, which is a thing that whenever he got money, he never talked about doing. he was just like, hey, if I take that money and I gamble it on something else, maybe more money, question mark, He's never thinking beyond the next scam. She's like, hey, I got some money. Let me do something like smart with it. Like Jeopardy was kind of a far out dream, but it was a dream that she knew she was smart enough to like win some money. Even if she came in second or third, you know, she would have had a little bit of money.
And like I said, even if she was only champion for one day, that the money from the one day would be enough.
Yeah, and apparently whatever she won was enough that she was gonna, you know, she even gave him some of her winnings. And the thing is she didn't know he had anything to do with her getting on the show. So it wasn't like she was giving him those winnings because he got her on the show. She was just like, well, you're my boyfriend again. I'll help you out of your debt. So you won't catch a stray from the mob, like
And also, hey, once we get out of debt, we need to think about the future. You're going to need to get a job, a real
yeah,
job, not hustling on the street.
yeah, and that's really all she asks of him. She doesn't really ask anything. She doesn't specify what kind of job he has to get, how much money he has to make. Just like stop gambling and get some sort of steady income, which is not a huge ask.
Mm-hmm.
If that's your only ask from your partner, damn,
There is a, and right after all of this happens, right after the everything, we'll get to it, but you know, Sydney even tells Billy, "Listen to your woman." And if he had just listened to her, they might still be together at the end of the movie. But because he decides to take one last gamble, he loses her forever.
because Sydney's apartment gets broken into and all his stuff is stolen. All the money he won, everything he had in his apartment, a bunch of his furniture.
Even the baby's crib got stolen. His wife says that even the baby's crib got stolen. Who would steal a baby's crib? And she's like looking at her neighbors, like, I know one of you saw it. I know one of you saw these people breaking into my apartment. So now he's got nothing. He's got nothing because someone broke into his apartment. We don't know who. Stole all of his money, stole all of their valuables, and now he is having to do. He is desperate for some money to finally get his family out of that apartment, out of that neighborhood.
Okay, so I was gonna ask you because here's the thing is I thought that like I just missed something, but you just said we don't know who.
I think it's just to emphasize that they're in a bad neighborhood. It's just it happens. Like it's no one we know. We never find out who it is because it's not important to the story. It's just they're in a bad neighborhood and these things happen. They were out, and while they were out, someone broke in.
Every time you think you're out, someone breaks back in.
Yeah.
Um, that was the thing that kind of annoyed me because I was like, okay, that just came out of nowhere. And as a great YouTuber Ryan George would say, is because the movie needed to happen.
Yeah. So
This really feels just like the movie needed to happen. Like you said, if Billy had listened to Gloria and listened to Sydney when he says, "Hey, listen to your woman." Uh, this is a completely different movie, but then the movie takes a turn, and Sydney is like, "Hey, my apartment got stolen. Everything from my apartment got stolen. My wife and children have disappeared from this movie. Please help me out by playing one final basketball game against the legends of the scene that we have never heard of until now."
Well, they are mentioned several times in the movie, but they're never seen until the end. King and Duck. At the very beginning of the movie, when we see Billy coming into the Venice Beach basketball court, he says, "Is this the court that King and Duck played on?" And the singers say, "Yeah, they played her all the time. They're legends here." That is why he went there to begin with, because he knew that that is where these two streetball legends got their start, and he wanted to be there in the same place that they got their start. Throughout the movie, these two are constantly referred to as the next King and Duck, the best duo since King and Duck in the streetball scene. And finally, at the end of the movie, King and Duck return to the streetball scene, return to LA after however many years they've been gone, and they are challenging the best team, the best two-man basketball teams in the scene, which are Sid and Billy. So they're going to put up a bunch of money to the best two-man team to take on the legends. And Sid is telling Billy, "We can smoke them. They're over the hill. They're old. They're coming back for one last ride, and we're going to ruin it for them and take their money." Again, there is another movie happening at the same time this one is, about these two old streetball players going for one more ride.
You could make 8 different movies on the movies that are happening adjacent to this movie.
Like the movie about the rocket scientist who's been champion for Jeopardy for 10 days, who loses to the go-go dancer.
Yeah. That's a tragic movie that drives him into drinking and despair, and yeah. And there's like a whole other one about like what happens to the Wesley Snipes wife and kids after the burglary. There's a whole nother one about what happens to Gloria after she leaves Billy. There's a really good mob movie somewhere in here that's going on, like just like 3 feet to the side of this movie.
Mm-hmm. About these two mobsters trying to get back in the game. And like I said, these two basketball legends wanting to have their one last run at the streetball team. And I like that they actually have actual basketball players playing some of the characters in this movie.
Yeah, if you follow basketball, you can watch this movie, and I'm certain that you will probably recognize some people. I, on the other hand, did not recognize a single fucker in this movie because I do not give a shit about basketball. So have fun with that if basketball is your thing, because I hear this movie is really great for spotting, like, oh, hey, look, is that basketball player I like? So you have fun with that. If that's your thing, go forth with my blessing.
So that's the thing. Sid says, we need the money. I have nothing. I need this one last game and I'm set. I can get my family out of our shitty neighborhood. I can finally buy that house we've been eyeing. I am set. And if you win, then you will have your money. You can pay off your gambling debt, and you and Gloria can have a nice life together. And it's all over. All of our problems are gone in this one game against the two legends, King and Duck. And again, the entire reason that Billy is in Venice Beach is because it is the birthplace of King and Duck in the street ball scene.
I'm gonna tell you something funny. I do remember the scene at the beginning of the movie where he's like, "Hey, is this where those guys play?" But considering he was asking musicians about it, I literally thought he was trying to bond with them over music because I hadn't gotten into the flow of the movie yet and what it was about.
BB King and Donald Dunn, right?
Well, I thought he was talking about like, hey, is this where those legends of, jazz or something had played or what? And I thought they were just making up like, fake musician people for them to be like, oh yeah, you're with the culture, man. Like I thought it was gonna be like that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I did not put it together until you were talking about it, and I was like, oh yeah, I do remember. I thought he was talking about musicians. So there you go. That was on me.
It happens.
Go ahead and have a laugh about that one, because I know I am.
So that's their plan. And then he says, Billy says to Gloria, one more gamble, one more hustle. I will take the money that you've given me. I'm going to smoke these two legends and I'm done. I'm out of the game. I will take the money that I won. I will pay off the mobsters and it's done. It's over. We are in the clear. And she says, no, you are not taking my money and gambling it away. This is it. If you go and do this, it's over because you're supposed to get a job. You're supposed to use that money to get a job. You're not supposed to use that money to hustle. But it's the dilemma of Billy. It's like, does he help his friend that has lost everything because his house got broken into, or does he listen to his woman and invest that money into a job? So it's like he's fucked either way. Either he loses his woman or he loses his friend.
You know what? I do not think that Gloria is so much of a stone-hearted bitch that she would uh just leave Sydney and Rhonda and the kids in a bad position. I think that she would have helped them.
Because
I just think that she would not have helped them by gambling away the money. I think she would have helped them by maybe like, hey, come stay in our place for a week until we get you like more stable housing. Hey, Sydney, shut up. There's nothing wrong with letting your wife have a job if she wants a job. You know? Uh, it's okay. Uh, it doesn't make you less of a man or whatever.
I mean, at the end of the movie, he relents, saying, "Okay, yeah, maybe we should get a job. Maybe both of us together, putting our money together, we can buy that house."
Or she might have even said, you know what? I made enough money off of, 4 days as Jeopardy champion. I will loan you the down payment on the house right now. If you'll agree to stop hustling basketball and just get a legit job. Maybe go for your contractor license so you're not a skeevy off the books contractor. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, Gloria seems to have a good head on her shoulders. I mean, Rhonda kind of seems to have a decent enough head on her shoulders too, but she's got kids, and I can see where maybe she can't just dump Wesley Snipes right then,
Because he seems to be a good dad.
Well, yeah, I mean, he does seem to be a good dad, and he does seem to be at least trying, and he also doesn't seem to constantly be losing their money. in the same way that Billy is, you know?
Like he's actually listening to his woman, except for the whole job thing until the end. But the point is that he is trying to do the best that he can to be a good husband, a good father, and a provider for his family. It's just he's hustling. Either he's hustling basketball on the streets or hustling white guys through shady contract deals.
Yeah. But the thing is like the only person in this movie that I'm kind of with, other than Dwayne Wayne, who shows up in this movie and is awesome for like, 5 minutes, uh, is Gloria, because like she's made some mistakes, like getting with Billy, but heart wants what the heart wants, I guess. But she gives him a couple of chances. He blows all those chances. She finally has made her own money and is able to walk out the door. And she looks at that door and goes, you know what? I'm going to be a boss ass bitch and walk out that door. And good for her. Because he's not going to change. Even at the end of the movie, you know, they're standing there doing the thing about like, well, you should listen to your woman, but also maybe that wasn't the woman you were supposed to be with and the woman you were supposed to be listening to. And it's like, make up your damn mind, man. You're just saying that because you're trying to manipulate this dude into giving you money. Like, you're not really on his side. You're not really his friend. You're enabling his gambling addiction because it serves your needs. Wesley Snipes is not your friend, bro. He's using you. No good is going to come of that friendship. I know that the movie wants to end this on a note of like, and they were bros forever, broing it up on the basketball court. But no, they're not. They were bros forever, broing it up in like, Skid Row, hustling for a 40. Like, that's the way that movie really ends.
There's the thing that Gloria says in the movie that gets brought back up at the end of the movie that he doesn't get. Even at the end of the movie, he tries to get the lesson and he kind of doesn't get it. Sometimes when you win, you lose. Sometimes when you lose, you win. And she kind of says it in a very complicated way because she involves ties in the saying, but the point is that you don't always have to win all the time to win. And she's trying to get that into his brain, is that you don't need, it's kind of her way of saying you don't need to hustle this way. You don't need to, or his need to gamble, his need to play the game, his hot-headedness, he has to be right all the time in this movie. And when he's not right, he gets hot-headed.
Well, the thing is that Billy tries to tell Sydney that, oh, black guys don't care if they win as long as they look cool. White guys don't care if they look cool as long as they win. And what Gloria tries to tell him, even though she does it in kind of a convoluted way, is you want to be seen to win even when you're losing. Like, just because you think you're winning, it's like, just because everybody in the room is laughing doesn't mean they're laughing with you.
Like,
it's that kind of lesson that she's trying to teach him.
Why is she mad? We won. I doubled the money she gave me. It's not about that you won and doubled the money, is that you went out and you gambled again when she specifically told you not to.
Yeah, it's like you have a gambling problem, bro, and you are losing every time you give into that gambling problem. You
And it's
need
a
to be in like Gamblers Anonymous is what you need to be.
and it's not gambling in the I'm going to Vegas and I'm going to put it all on red kind of gambling. It's, oh, you think you're a better ball player than me? Well, I'll throw down all of the money in my pocket, all of the money in my savings to show that I'm a better basketball player than you. Like, that's the hustle that Sydney did earlier in the movie. Billy gave him all of their savings, the money that they were saving to pay off the mobsters, and he throws the game to screw him and take all of his money.
Yeah.
So that's the gambling addiction. And it's kind of, now that I'm saying this, there is a scene in the movie that reminds me that the mobsters even told him, "Hey, the reason he's in this gambling debt to begin with is because he lost the game. Like, he was playing a basketball game. They bet on him and he lost. And that's how they own the debt." So it is a gambling debt. It's just not gambling in the way most people see gambling.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is like I said at the start of this whole thing, I I know that this movie wasn't like trying to be any kind of big ethical morality tale kind of thing, but it ends up being such a kind of sad story at the end if you really think it through.
Billy never grows as a person in the movie. He is the same person he is at the end of the movie that he is at the beginning of the movie. The only difference is that he has a friend that may not actually be his friend.
Yeah. The difference is he ends the movie with an enabler. Congratulations, dude.
Because he's like, "Oh, I need a job. You have a job. Can you give me a job?" So their job is hustling in basketball and hustling shady contract deals.
Maybe.
But they end the movie as friends on the basketball court in a friendly rivalry.
And we're supposed to feel good about that because sports fixes everything.
So, Kiki, I'll ask you, does White Men Can't Jump have the magic?
It has the magic of awesome actors. I mean, really, the performances in this movie are great. I would suggest that anybody see it once because these performances are stellar. Cannot recommend that enough. But try not to think about the plot or characters or anything else too much because it might make you sad.
I'm going to say that this movie does have the magic, but I will also say that this movie has the magic specifically because of Wesley Snipes and Woody Harrelson and Rosie Perez and their dynamic together. I think if it had been any other actors in this movie would not have the magic that it has. Do I think the movie's bad? No. I mean, I actually like the movie. I hadn't seen the movie in like 20 years, but
It's not an atrocious movie. It's just not a great movie, plot wise.
hmm. Without these three actors in it, this movie would fall apart. I will agree with you on that.
Yeah. But with those three actors, it's a fun ride, and I would suggest that if you like those three actors, and you should like their work at least, uh, then maybe give it a watch.
There's something at the end of this movie during the ending credits that I miss in movies. Is and I wish they would bring this back. And it's the let's get a famous singer or rapper or whatever to sing a song about the movie.
That's the Men in Black. Yeah.
Because the end song is called White Men Can Jump. So it's like, can we bring that back? Can we bring back let's get not let's get a popular singer to sing a song that has nothing to do with the movie because we want an Oscar. Let's get popular singer to sing a song that is specifically about the movie we just watched, referencing the movie we just watched, and it be a banger and then gets lots of views and shares on social media because that's really what people want. Like, you will get the shares, you will get the views, you will get the likes. Is a golden statue more important than that? That a song that will live forever like that? Maybe it's me.
No, I also really like ridiculous songs that, you know, I mean, give me more Too Legit to Quit, you know?
Give me turtle power. I want more of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is the original White Man Can't Jump. As of this recording, it is on Disney Plus. It is on Hulu. If you have any of those services, you should at least watch the movie once. If you haven't watched it before, you should check it out if you haven't checked it out in a few years. Does the movie hold up? No, but it's still a fun ride. Our next episode, which will be in 2 weeks' time, we are going from basketball to baseball because baseball season is kicking off, and we are doing a baseball movie, Angels in the Outfield. This is a movie I've been wanting to talk about for a while. It's Christopher Lloyd. He's an angel.
There's baseball.
And there's baseball. And apparently I had recently found out this is technically a remake. We'll talk about that when we...
Yeah, we got to talk about that.
Yes. So come back in 2 weeks' time for Angels in the Outfield, and we'll talk to you all next time. Bye.
Bye.
Don't let the magic stop here.
Keep the conversation going. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Threads at Rewatching the Magic.
We are also on Blue Sky, rewatchingthemagic.bsky.social. And new episodes are available at rewatchingthemagic.podbean.com and youtube.com/@rewatchingthemagic. Remember, the magic is for everyone.
It only stops if you let it.
We know that right now, things are tough.
But in the words of Jim Henson, the only way the magic works is by hard work. But hard work can be fun.
Check out our show notes for ways that you can help.